Dear Diabetics, I know that life is hard, and I know that sometimes it feels like no one truly understands all of the hardships that you face. I know it can feel like the world is stacked up against you, just waiting to punch you in the gut whenever the time may strike. I know that it can be overwhelming, the decisions, the frustration, the constant pressure to always have perfect unicorn numbers. The pressure is to have your diabetes totally figured out. I know what it's like to feel hollow every single day. I know how heartbreaking it is to spend an entire day just trying to get your glucose back in range, crying in frustration because nothing is working. I know how disheartening it is when you're doing everything right, yet your numbers aren't coming into range. Living with type 1 diabetes definitely has its challenges, but those things make you so incredibly strong.
For anyone who's struggling, with their diabetes, with the mental side of things, I want you to know you're not alone. I also want you to know that it's okay to be sad about things, and it's okay to not feel like everything is going your way, right? But I think one of the things that we can really do in order to move past that is let go of perfection. The thing is with diabetes, we will never have perfect blood sugars. We're not a pancreas, we don't have full information. So expecting perfect blood sugars at all times, or that you'll feel perfect about it, is just unrealistic. So if we can let go of that expectation, I think life becomes so much easier.
It's really important to remember that there is no such thing as a perfect diabetic. Even people who have really, really good control, they still have bad days. And actually, if you're going through a bad patch, you're not on your own. Most diabetics have been through the same, or at least a very similar thing to you.
And not everything is your fault. There are a lot of different things that play a role in why you have to have high blood sugar or why you have the low blood sugar right now. And try to learn your body, try to understand what is going on, but don't make yourself crazy.
I used to go to camp when I was younger for diabetes camp, and I loved it. I met so many people who were going through the same thing, and it always allowed me to feel like I wasn't alone growing up, and I think that was really beneficial.
Diabetes is hard. It's a lot of work, but it does get a lot easier to manage with time. And I promise that you are not alone.
Dear Diabetics, I want you to know that you are not alone in this. Even in times when you feel like the world is out to get you, and no matter what you do, things are just not working. Even when you're trembling on the floor in the kitchen, eating every single thing in your cupboard, trying to bring your glucose back up. You are never alone. Mental health plays a huge part in diabetes management, and it's only natural for us diabetics to experience some struggles.
Living with a chronic illness like diabetes can take a dramatic toll on our mental health. Sometimes I think there's just a lot that comes at you when you're catapulted into the role of an organ, in our case, a stand-in pancreas. There's a lot of thinking about food, about your next move, about your blood sugars. There's a lot of math and calculations. There's a lot of detective work sometimes. And I think sometimes that a lotness, it's just like a lot of a lot, is really burdensome.
A few years ago, I was diagnosed with an eating disorder, anorexia nervosa. And it was actually a really tough period of my life. And in the end, I asked for help myself because I wanted to have my life back. And the mental health is really something we need to talk more about, because the mental health is a real problem for many people with diabetes. And I think the professionals need to take this serious.
I do have a lot of anxiety that is, what I believe, absolutely tied to being a type 1 diabetic. Especially when it comes to eating. I think because when we take insulin, we kind of are forced to eat that amount, and if we don't eat that amount, we go really low. So I have a lot of kind of pent-up anxiety about when I was a kid and just needing to eat in front of people that I didn't want to eat in front of.
And I believe that a big part of diabetes is the mental aspect, and yet it's a part that we don't really talk about.
Burnout and feeling overwhelmed is natural, and as people who live with type 1 diabetes, I think it would be unrealistic to say that we never experience times of sadness or frustrations or anger. It's okay to admit that we experience these things because we live with a chronic illness that needs around-the-clock treatment. But that doesn't make us weak. It makes us incredibly powerful.
Burnout, diabetes burnout, it happens. It happens to the best, and it's okay. It's okay if it happens. Realize that it's not your fault. It's a disease. It's not a perfect movie. It's life. So if you are experiencing diabetes burnout, my suggestion is to try to handle it on your own, but if you can't, and that is okay, just talk to your doctor.
Diabetes burnout is one of those things that can just sort of creep out from nowhere, and it can affect any of us. And I think it is worth remembering that when you're dealing with something 24/7 every day, it's actually quite rational and it's actually quite understandable that we do get burnt out and we do get fed up sometimes. So there's no need to feel embarrassed about it. There's no need to feel ashamed about it. It's perfectly okay to acknowledge that you're struggling.
It's natural for people to insert their opinions on the way that you should treat your diabetes. I've heard so many things from people over the years. Eat keto, only eat 10 carbs a day. Are you sure that you should be eating that? And my personal favorite, eat bacon, it will cure your diabetes.
Well, first of all, I don't believe there's one way that we should all manage our diabetes. I think diabetes management is extremely individual. So how I'm successful is not necessarily going to be the way that you're successful. It could be, but it might not. So whenever I have people approach me saying, hey, they found great success with, let's say, keto, and that way of managing their life, managing their diabetes, I'm always like, that's great for you. And I love to hear about your success. But I've tried keto. It was not for me. It did not make me happier. It did not, improve my glucose management.
Other people's opinions on how they manage their disease in terms of how we manage ours, like we're all so different, right? So it can sometimes come off the wrong way. And I think the most important thing to remember, and this is something that I do, is just really taking it back to remembering that it's an individual journey.
Sometimes those come in the form of, supposed helpful advice, and sometimes it's hurtful and mean. But I would just like people to know that, that's my business and that's your business. If people have opinions of how you are doing your diabetes, just remember that it's your diabetes. It's not theirs, it's yours. And that is really important.
But of course, I came across a lot of arrogant people, people who suggested a cinnamon cure or something like that. Sometimes I try to explain it, but if it doesn't work, I just leave it. You can't educate everyone, it's not possible, and it's not your job.
People's opinions, not including your doctor's, don't matter. Just because something works well for someone else doesn't mean that it's going to work for you.
So much has come out of having type 1 diabetes. I mean, look at the engagement all over the world. And I have made so many friends, and I've been able to travel the world to meet professionals and businesses who actually give their daily life to help us having diabetes a better everyday life.
For me, the biggest positivity is 100% the community that comes with it. I don't really know that many diabetics in my life, so the online diabetes community is so important to me because it's just a chance to, hear from other people who are struggling with the same stuff. Other diabetics just understand exactly what you're going through.
I say all the time that I think something that I'm pretty grateful about having type 1 diabetes is the fact that I'm very conscious about nutrition. I'm conscious about what goes into my body. It's, I think, made me a healthier person in a way. Another positive actually that's come out of having type 1 diabetes is being connected to other type 1 diabetics. Some of my best friends are type 1s, and I met them through the online diabetes community. So I actually met them on Instagram, and we've been friends for years. So that's really positive as well.
I'm just truly grateful for the self-discovery that's happened as a result of my type 1 diabetes, but just the connections that I've made. There are so many wildly awesome people out there that I wouldn't even know about if it wasn't for type 1. Just getting to see all the flavors of folks out there in the world is a real treat and something I'm truly, truly grateful for.
Diabetes has really made me a lot more in tune with my body. It's helped me build my intuition, and it's helped me become more aware of myself on so many different levels. And I feel like without type 1 diabetes, I probably would not be as health conscious as I am. I probably wouldn't make my sleep a priority, my physical activity, my nutrition, just all of the little things that we should all be doing anyways. Without diabetes, I probably would not make those things a priority. And all of those things are so important for just our overall well-being in general. So I really thank diabetes for that.
Dear diabetics, no matter what happens in your journey, you've got this. The highs, the lows, the struggles, the mental health, the ripped pump and CGM sites, the bumps, the bruises, the opinions, the judgments, the pricks, the pokes, the jokes, the insults, the sick days, the good days, and the self-loathing and the self-love. You've got this. We got this as a community. We are powerful. We are strong. We are magical, beautiful beings, and we will never give up. Every single time the world throws something your way, just know that you've got this.
What I had told myself in the beginning of my diabetes journey back in '97 was that sometimes it takes a village. And the good thing is, there is a village. There is a whole community of people living type 1. And if you're struggling with something, you can always reach out. There's most likely someone who has an option that will work for you.
It doesn't matter what devices you wear on your body. It doesn't make you less attractive or weird or not cool. It keeps you alive. The tools that you use and the devices that you wear on your body make you a healthier version of you so you can live a longer and more fulfilled life.
The more I learn about my diabetes and the more I pay attention to all of those highs and lows and everything in between, I feel better equipped to manage when hiccups come up, and they always do. But I think if someone had just told me that I would be a source of empowerment for myself and that I would learn to better manage down the road, that would have done me a whole world of good.
Whatever your goals and dreams and aspirations are, you can totally do it. There were so many times when people would say, Taja, you're never going to be as fit as you want because you're living with type 1 diabetes, because you have to take insulin. But I did achieve my fitness goals. Just because your pancreas doesn't produce insulin on its own does not mean that you can't achieve whatever goal you want to achieve.